Hey everyone, welcome back to 2D to Review. I'm Caleb.
I'm Hannah, and we literally just got home from watching Spider-Man Far From Home, and now we're going to talk about it.
Yes, so briefly we can give a quick non-spoiler
Non-spoiler.
what we thought. This rest of the video will contain spoilers. I really liked it. I
liked it.
I thought it was, I personally thought it was better than Spider-Man Homecoming.
And he just watched it. I haven't.
Yeah, I watched it earlier today.
It's been a little while since I've seen it.
But yeah, I thought everything was really good. If you liked the first one, I feel like you'll like this one either equally, or you might be like me and like it a little bit more. I just thought everything was really well done. They took it in a direction that I wasn't quite expecting, which is a good thing. So, like I said, if you're a fan of Spider-Man, fan of the MCU, definitely check it out. Stay till the end of the credits
The
because
very, very end.
I mean, yes, there are two after credit scenes.
There's two after credit scenes. There's a mid and a very, very end.
And the mid credit scene might be the best end credit scene that I've ever seen. I'll just leave it at that. But both are very important, I feel like.
Yeah.
So it's not like the end credit for Homecoming where Cap comes out and is like, patience. Sometimes it leads to very little, and you wonder why.
They didn't troll us with they didn't troll us with the end credit scenes this time. But yeah, there are two, so definitely stick around. I mean, although we did see people get up and leave after the first one, and I was like,
you guys are gonna regret it.
I was like, come on.
Because even that second end credit scene was like really.
I was like,
they both were really surprising.
Yeah.
They both. I was like, what is going on?
Spoiler, they're surprising.
Yeah, they're.
But yeah, definitely stick around. Yeah, I mean, it was good. It had what I feel like you expect not only from a Spider-Man movie, but like a Marvel movie. It had humor, it had drama. The action scenes were good. There was a few things with the CGI that I wasn't thrilled. It didn't look great.
At this point, I mean, we're just gonna start talking about.
Well, I mean, even still, like this. This is still
non-spoiler,
but yeah, like some of the CGI wasn't like amazing. But it,
I'm curious if we're thinking about the same scene. We'll talk about that a little bit later.
But as a whole, like it's a good movie. Definitely see Endgame before you see it. If for some reason you haven't seen Endgame, you need to see Endgame before this, or you're gonna have like massive spoilers.
Or if you're just a really big Spider-Man fan and don't really care, I mean, I guess, but you should still go see it because it needs to beat Avatar.
But yeah, so it was really good. Definitely go check it out. Now we're going to get into the real spoilery stuff. So if you haven't watched it yet, you're going to want to click off, save it, and then come back after you've seen it and watch the rest of it.
Because Spider-Man dies.
Actually, there was a point where I was like, did they just shoot him? Like, no. But anyways. Yeah, I thought, I mean, yes, it was good, obviously. I was a little, I don't want to say disappointed in like the whole Mysterio reveal.
You wanted him to be a good guy?
Well, no, I mean, I knew he was going to be like the bad guy. I just wanted him to be like Mysterio and not like.
Well, because you wanted him to have actual powers.
Yeah.
Because there are two versions of him in the comics. The original version of Mysterio in the comics was exactly what they did here. He was an actor who was very good at using technology for the purpose of illusions. And then there was a second version of Mysterio where he had like psychic powers to where he could make people see illusions, but no technology was involved. He was just more of a psychic type of
magic.
Yeah, a magic type of power. And so based on all the trailers, I thought they were going for the latter option, but they stuck true with the actual original character.
Mean, I get. I feel like Marvel's always tried to be a little more grounded to a certain extent. Obviously, like Thanos and like all the aliens and stuff, but like, to a certain extent, like I feel like they've tried to keep things a little more grounded.
But I feel like Mysterio having powers wouldn't necessarily be like ungrounded, but it's
Well, because he was good. They introduced the multiverse and then took it away. So like with that introduction and him being like that, I was like, oh cool, like. Maybe we're gonna get to see Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man pop up at some point. But then when they took it away, then I was like, oh man, I guess not. Like, dang it.
I mean, the multiverse is still out there because, especially with all the time traveling.
Not necessarily, but
the Russos kind of confirmed that
Yeah, but the
all
writers
their-
didn't.
Yes, but the Russos have said that, you know.
Yeah, but the writers didn't. So I don't know. I guess you just gotta pick and choose who you want to believe. But yeah. So I was just a little disappointed in that. But I mean, you know, I like Jake Gyllenhaal, and he definitely did a good job in the role. You know, but
For the first, I don't know. I want to say, up until, you know, the big Mysterio reveal at the bar or whatever, I felt like up until that point I was kind of like feeling like the movie was dragging out a little bit, and I was just like where, like what are they doing with this? I'm like, I feel like they were taking like a long time to kind of get to that point. Which, I mean, there was some entertaining parts along the way, but I feel
there's
like
definitely
it
a lot
was,
of humor in the first half of the movie.
yeah, but I just felt like, you know, there was just so much about like, oh, you know, him, you know, getting to getting to Europe, and, you know, doing all this like school stuff, trip stuff, and all that, and like, you know, I mean, they had like them, you know, they fought the fire and the, you know, what, and the water, the Hydro Man, and all that, but like, I feel like, I don't know, to me, I was like there was no like clear direction of like where the movie was going. I just felt like it was just kind of, I don't know, it was just kind of blah for a little bit. But then once they finally did the, you know, once Spider-Man gave Mysterio the glasses, and like, you know, he became like, you know, the bad guy, Mysterio, then I felt like the movie definitely picked up a lot, and like, you know, that whole second half I thought was like really well done.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think for the first half, I think they were just trying to. I mean, they were setting up a lot. Okay, first I'm going to start with the beginning. I feel like they didn't do enough to address the blip.
I mean, you know,
they addressed it some, which they needed to, but
they addressed it in a humorous way, where like people had come back up like in the middle of another performance, and they all like hit each other, and I was like, oh, that's kind of funny.
But I just feel like they didn't address like what that would actually mean, like.
Yeah, because
like the impact it would have on the world.
This movie takes place 8 months after Endgame. Because they said in that video, like, 8 months ago, everyone had come back, and I'm like, in 8 months' time, the world would not be that
put
smooth
together.
And back, you know, like there'd be so much chaos with having all of a sudden 3.5 billion people just coming back into existence when everyone thought they were gone and dead or whatever. I was like, there would be so much chaos and so much to sort through and try to get everything. Like, everything was already just kind of like
we're
straightened
running smooth,
out.
we're good.
To the point that, like, even on the airplane, she's like, oh, he was one of the blips. Like, he's not actually 21. And I'm just like, and she was like, oh, like, well, then you can't. And I'm just like, everything is just like so like smooth and common knowledge. And I'm like, it would take a lot of time.
Yeah.
A lot more than 8 months for them to have like everything just kind of situated and be like, oh, you know, some people who disappeared or, you know, are not as old as they ought to be.
Kind of about that a little bit.
Although, it's just way too smooth.
The funniest part about the whole like blip thing was the teacher talking about how his wife pretended to be blipped and then like ran off with some other guy. And like ran off with some other guy. That was like the whole thing about that. But yeah, so I wish they would have done a little more. They actually started, the movie with like in memoriam for like the fallen Avengers, which Cap isn't dead unless he died as an old man that we don't know about, which I hope isn't the case. Only because I feel like they should have mentioned that at least in the movie. Oh, you know, hey, we actually lost Cap, like he was old and then he died, like of old age, not like of anything else.
And I don't know if that memoriam is supposed to be humorous, but I thought it was really funny.
Yeah, it was funny because it started to hear Whitney Houston singing "I Will Always Love You," and I was like, what's happening? And then then they show like, you know, the in memoriam. So it was pretty good. That was the only in memoriam that Black Widow was going to get, because she didn't really get one in Endgame. So that was like her funeral. I hope everybody enjoyed it.
And this is kind of jumping around a little bit, but another little fun Easter egg for the comics was that Mysterio was like, oh, this is Earth 616, which is the universe in the comics. The main comic book universe is Universe 616. Because they actually address the multiverse, and there's like the Ultimate Universe and all this other type of thing, but their main universe was always 616. So I thought that was a nice little reference that they did there. But then, like you said, they kind of, you know, dangled it in front of us and then yanked it away. But
then, you know, getting back into Peter's trying not to become Iron Man. He's like, stressing out.
Or he wants to become Iron Man, but doesn't feel like he can.
Well, people are like telling you, like pestering him. So he doesn't take a suit with him, which then May sneaks it in. So apparently May was blipped. I'm gonna say snapped. I can't keep saying blipped. That just sounds dumb. So apparently she was snapped, because that's what I was curious. I always felt like somebody in his group, in his friend group, somebody needed to have survived it, just to kind of add an extra layer to it. And the fact that like all his friends were snapped, and then May was snapped, and apparently Happy survived, because then he said he grew a blip beard. So I kind of...
You think there'd just be a little bit more devastation, like, 5 years going by.
That's why I kind of wish May had survived it, just so I feel like it would have added a little more dramatic between her and Peter. Him going off and her being, no, like, I lost you the last time you went away for 5 years, So I feel like that would have just kind of added a little bit more. But, either... I always felt it should have been her. Like, she should have been the one to survive. Because then that would, but...
And she could have been older Aunt May.
All of a sudden, she's like 90.
Her like in like her white hair like pulled back and like.
But yeah, so I was kind of a little disappointed in that, to find that out. I was like, oh, so she was snapped too. But the whole movie, once he kind of gets to Europe, and we're doing all that, like, it kind of starts to pick up the pace a little bit. They definitely started, it almost feels like they're starting to phase Ned out. I almost called him Jacob, that's what his real name is. Because he was in it, but he wasn't, like, in it a lot. And especially now that, MJ
Michelle.
I
still
whatever.
call her Michelle.
She, she's going to start taking more screen time in the next one, and so I feel like Ned's just gonna either be phased out. I kind of thought he was gonna be killed off in this one. Maybe he should have been. But
Peter has lost enough.
Okay? Well, I mean, yeah.
You can't lose anymore.
Well, yeah, especially like after Endgame, like it would have been like super messed up. If,
you would have like gone and killed himself or something. He's like, I just can't do it anymore.
But yeah, so I think they're going to start kind of phasing him out a little bit, because I think he's just going to have less and less to do.
They're going to go to different colleges.
Yeah, they're going to see other people. But yeah, so MJ or Michelle, whatever you want to call her, she had a little bit more of a role. Still not big on her character.
I don't know. By the end of this movie, I feel like I'm still not sold as her as MJ. But I'm sold for her as a character, as Michelle, and as his love interest. Like, I'm completely fine with all that. Like, I don't know. After watching Homecoming, I didn't know. I had mixed feelings about it, but I felt like it was gonna be okay. But I feel like this one really, really solidified it, at least for me. And I thought it was.
I mean, I just her as a character, like MJ or not, I don't know. I'm just not like super thrilled with her. I just kind of find her as a little meh. Like, I will say she was a little better in this one than she was in Homecoming. I mean, she was hardly in Homecoming, but like, than she was in Homecoming. But I'm still just kind of like, like whatever. But I mean, apparently Happy and Aunt May have been dating, but I thought it was funny at the end when Peter asks them like if they're dating, and she's like no, and Happy's like yes.
Like, yeah, I was like, wait, what?
And then they're both saying like conflicting things, where he's like, oh, it'll grow into this, and she's like, we'll remain friends, and like, so I thought that was kind of funny.
I thought Mysterio in general, just as a villain, I thought they pulled off really well. I like how so far Spider-Man has never gone up against like an actual like super villain. He went up against an old guy, in a metal suit and in a flying metal suit, and now he's going up against just a regular guy.
Yeah.
Just a regular guy with a lot of technology.
Super smart guy who apparently invented barf, which I wasn't thrilled. Sometimes I don't like when people, when they do that, when they go back and be like, oh, hey, this person was here. And it's like, okay. I don't know. I just thought that was kind of weird.
I thought it was kind of, I understand why they did it, but I felt like it kind of pulled me out of the movie a little bit when they were like, during that like bar scene, and he's like, "Oh, you," and then like it was
You
the
do
guy
this, and they were
from
trying to
the guy
show
from
from
Iron
Man
Man,
1,
and like
yeah.
they're showing like all these different scenes, and I'm just like, okay, I'm like, I get why, because if they didn't do that, I wouldn't have known who that was.
Yeah.
But I was like, at the same time, I was like, they kind of pulled me out of it a little bit, because it was like almost like a recap of the MCU, like, hey, like all these things that the Avengers have messed up, we're all gonna come together and like really screw over Spider-Man, who's like the newest guy of them all.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, like, sure.
But yeah. But I mean, I think Mysterio, I mean, he did end up being like a good villain.
Because I mean, like we all knew that he. I mean, most people. I don't think the person next to me knew, because when when he was gonna go and fight the I forget what the name of this particular one is, but the fire one. And he's like, no matter like what, like, I'm glad I met you. And she was just like, oh no, like don't do it. And I was just like, he's like the bad guy, right? Like, okay.
You're in for a rude awakening over there.
So for the most part, most of us knew he was going to be the main villain. But even still, I enjoyed his earlier performances with him pretending to be a good guy, and like his interactions with Peter and Nick Fury and all that. Like I really liked that, even though I knew he was full of crap. But I still I still liked all those interactions and everything. And I feel like he actually did genuinely like Peter Parker. That's why he was always just kind of like now I got to kill him, and I don't want to have to do that.
But yeah. So Peter wins. Him and Michelle MJ get together. Now let's talk about the end credit. Okay, so first of all, like
that mid-credit scene was just.
So first of all, like we get to the where Mysterio's been kind of doing secret videos throughout and kind of piecing them together and making it look that Spider-Man is the bad guy. And then it says that once it said it was reported by the Daily Bugle, I was like,
And then I heard the voice, and I was like,
the whole theater was just like, ah! I mean, it was like we actually meant to record our reaction to the mid and end credit scene, and then like we did in the lighting, you couldn't really see us. But it was seeing J.K. Simmons as J. Jonah Jameson again.
I mean, there's nobody else that can play that.
It was just, I'm sure there's like, and I said like right after it happened, I was like, people are gonna say that all the rest of the that those movies are canon now. But I mean, it was nice to see him in it, and I hope he's in the next one, because that'd be kind of nice.
They don't have to like overdo it. Like he doesn't have to like work for him like he did in the other one. But
have him do more news stories.
Almost like the video game. For those who played the Spider-Man for PlayStation 4, like we'll just be kind of doing our thing, and all of a sudden it kept popping up as like a radio show, and you'd be like talking about like Spider-Man did this. Like it doesn't have to be like big. It could just be like him swinging by New York City, and there's like
another
video
thing of him
another video thing of him talking. Like maybe do that just like once or twice, or maybe 3-4 times, and just kind of have him, have him pop up. Not necessarily have to interact with Spider-Man or have like this big old thing like they did in the original one with Tobey Maguire. But like I just feel like including him a little bit more. I mean, because.
That's a crowd.
I mean, that's everyone in our theater was just like clapping and cheering. And I did not see it coming. I was just like, as soon as I heard the voice, I was just like,
it was pretty freaking
But
cool.
then it goes on.
The very end credit scene, another surprise.
Oh no, this is still the mid one.
Oh yeah.
Because that all happens, and we're like, but then Jonah Jameson is like, and here's this video.
Yeah,
and
so
Mysterio,
it's part of like the same video where Mysterio is trying to make it out like Spider-Man is the bad guy, and then
and so he's like, it makes it look like Peter is the one that's using the drones, and he's like, he says that he's the only one that can be Iron Man, and he's trying to do all this horrible stuff, and then he's like, his name is Peter Parker, and then like a picture of it shows up, and then like it just ends, and I'm like,
and then Peter's
like,
what the, and then it cut out before you could say it.
And I was just like, that was like a huge like cliffhanger to end on.
So I'm really interested in what a third like Spider-Man, or what the next movie set in this area, New York.
Well, I mean, yeah, because like by the time we see another Spider-Man movie, it's gonna be like 2 or 3 years. I'm like, we're gonna have all sorts of another MCU movies. I'm like, wouldn't that be like I feel like that's like a huge thing, but
That'd be hanging over. So yeah, I mean, I don't know.
to not be addressed. I mean, I know it won't be addressed in like other movies
They're like,
because it wouldn't
surprise!
make
The
sense.
start of Phase 4 is Spider-Man 3.
Right? And like they filmed them back to back. It's actually gonna be the first movie in 2020. You know?
Yeah.
Be like, oh, all right.
I mean, honestly, I wouldn't be surprised by that.
But wait, there's more.
There's more, yeah. The final end credit scene, another surprise. So
You have like Nick Fury. And...
you have Nick Fury and Maria Hill just driving, and then like, nope, it's the Skrulls. And it's Talos, however you say it. I think they've actually said it. If you watch Captain Marvel, we saw it a bunch. They said his name differently a lot, but I think it was like Talos was like the more common one.
And then his wife.
And then his wife, yeah. So they were Nick Fury and Maria Hill throughout the entire movie, which kind of makes sense because Nick Fury was kind of being an
jerk
a-hole
the whole movie. Like almost towards the end of the movie, I'm just like, are they trying to like make me hate Nick Fury? Because I'm like, I don't get it. And then after that, I was like, oh,
yeah. And then
alright.
I was reminded of a part in the movie where Peter's like, well, can't you call Captain Marvel? And then Nick
Like,
Fury's
don't utter
like,
his name.
yeah, don't you dare utter her name or like something like that. And I was like, well, that's kind of weird. Like,
And it's like, now it makes a little bit more sense.
Yeah,
So I mean, I
like,
can't wait to go back and watch it a second time with the knowledge that that's not actually Nick Fury and Jonah Hill.
Jonah Hill.
Jonah Hill.
It's definitely not Jonah Hill.
Maria Hill. Italy. But then, you know.
So yeah, he
at
calls
first-
Nick.
So
Yeah.
at first I'm like, is Nick Fury actually dead and he's just like impersonating him?
Yeah, and that was my first thought. But then he's like, I bet, you know, his wife was like, you better call him. And I was like, oh, okay, so he's
So
alive.
yeah, so he calls Nick Fury, and I'm like, okay, good, Nick Fury's alive. And then like all of a sudden, like it looks like he's on this beach, but then
Which
like
looks
the
like
screen,
Tahiti for a little Coulson Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. thing for people.
and then the screen fades away, and he's walking out, and he's like on the spaceship, surrounded by Skrulls, and they're out in outer space, and then it ends.
Yeah.
So my theory on that, I'm probably gonna Google it tonight to see what other people are saying about it. But just my first thought is that in the comics there was this space station. I can't remember what it's called, but it dealt heavily with Captain Marvel, and she was like the head of this squad that is on this, on this base that it orbits Earth, and it's there as like to detect and protect against extraterrestrial threats, which given what's happened in Endgame and Captain Marvel, even though that was said in the 90s, but I'm like with everything that's been going on, especially with Thanos and the Chitauri and everything else that's happened from outer space, I'm like, it makes sense that they would now be like, we need something in place that's gonna help defend against future extraterrestrial threats. And Captain Marvel in the comics did lead this whole base, so I'm like, that could be setting up for a Captain Marvel 2. I don't know.
Maybe.
That was just my thought. I don't know.
I mean, I didn't know about the whole base thing, but I did think it was setting up with Captain Marvel too. But yeah, so I don't know. I guess we'll see. Disney's supposed to be announcing Phase 4 at D23. We were hopefully we'll be there. Hopefully we'll be in the panel. Probably not. But
Yeah, we're going to D23. We probably won't get into that particular screening, but if we could, we will be doing a video about it tonight immediately.
Oh yeah, like
at the
but one funny thing when Talos was, him and his wife were like kind of going back and forth, and he was like, she's like, you gotta call him, and he's like, people are telling me to call the Avengers. He's like, I don't know how to call the Avengers. Like, I can't call them. So yeah,
that makes sense. While they're, while he's like, oh, why don't you call it Doctor Strange? And they're like, unavailable.
yeah, call Thor. He's off planet.
Why they know Spider-Man, I don't know, but
yeah,
never really explained.
Well, probably because Nick told him, because Nick was sent them as him and Maria to give him the glasses, and so obviously he was like, "Hey, Peter Parker, Spider-Man, like, go take this to him." But,
yes,
yeah. So I don't know. We'll see what's next for the MCU. It'll be interesting. It'll be weird to not have Captain America and Iron Man in the movies going forward. Although we did get a zombie Iron Man.
That's kind of weird.
That was kind of creepy.
Well, that was another thing I wanted to address is that, while the CGI in this particular scene was not great, I felt like the whole illusion scene, that like first illusion scene where like everything, like you didn't know what was going on, and like Spider-Man was like tripping out. I mean, I thought that scene was really cool, really well shot. You had literally no idea what was going on or what was really happening, and even like it seemed like it went away and like Nick Fury shot him, and I was like, okay, it's over. But then when he kept asking like, who else knows? And I'm like, oh, that's not Nick Fury. I was like, that's still him within the illusion. But I thought I don't know if this is what you were talking about when you said like the CGI wasn't as great. I thought in that particular scene, like Spider-Man himself, like when he's looking at his reflection and even his arm and stuff, I felt like it looked a little less real than other times.
See, I wasn't even talking about that because I feel like when he's in the illusion, I think it's supposed to
have that surreal kind of feel to it.
I was talking about when Mysterio first came. Was it the first one? One of the first times we see him. I don't know if it was the one in New Mexico or just Mexico. Or if it was when we see him again, like coming in to like fight the elemental. One of those instances when they first showed him, it just, I don't know, it didn't look great in my opinion. I was like, I hope this gets better. I mean, it did, but so there was just like a few spots where it just kind of wasn't the best. But you know, as a whole,
I mean, it was fine as a whole. I thought CGI, the acting, the story, I thought everything was really well done. I'm happy with it. Like I said, I thought it was better than Homecoming.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I haven't seen Homecoming in a little while, so I have to watch Homecoming again. But I mean, I liked it. It's nice to see Nick Fury back, even fake Nick Fury, back in, you know,
in a movie. It's been a little while.
Yeah, kind of being a little more front and center.
Yeah, which because you know, ever since he faked his death in Winter Soldier, like, I feel like he's taken a really big
little bit of a
seat.
thing in Ultron, and then like pretty much it.
Yeah.
And then Captain Marvel, but.
And then he was at the end credit scene for Infinity War, but it looks like he's back to like being Nick Fury and like you know.
I'm curious as to like all these bases that they have. I'm like, is this SHIELD or is this just did Nick Fury start his own like Nick Fury intelligence agency? Like, I have no idea what this
Coulson's
is.
like,
I know. I was so hoping. Okay, so when they showed the beach scene with Nick, you know, on the fake beach, I was, you know, he said like, "Oh, is that Tahiti?" And I was like, "Oh my gosh, are they going to introduce Coulson back?" They didn't. I wish they, you know.
I feel like now is the right time. Now that most of the original Avengers are gone, and it's like,
he comes back and he's like,
you know, a lot of people came back, so I was like,
he's like, I was blipped.
like a little too soon.
Yeah.
Gone for a long time.
But yeah, I mean, I still just keep hoping that they're gonna introduce him back, and I kind of thought it was gonna be this one with like the whole beach scene. I thought he was gonna look over and Coulson was gonna be sitting there, and I was gonna be like, oh.
Although Coulson's dead in.
No, I mean, spoiler. Yeah, he may or may not be dead. I don't know. We're an episode behind, but. Anyways, that's a whole other video.
But I'm really excited to see what they do with Spider-Man going forward. Are they going to introduce Oscorp at some point? Is Spider-Man going to be interacting with other characters moving forward? Not for Spider-Man 3, but I mean like in other people's movies. Is he going to
pop in? Yeah.
Is there going to be some type of team-up movie? I imagine they're going to. Otherwise, you know, that's
kind of like the bread and butter. Like,
I feel like the universe will kind of lose its anchor if they're no longer just kind of interacting with each other. Then it'll just seem like a bunch of individual
I feel like they have a working.
Yeah, but sometimes you gotta change up the model though. But I mean, I'm not necessarily saying that they shouldn't do a team up movie, because like I said, without a team up movie, it would just feel like they're all not connected anymore, and it would just kind of feel like they're all just individual movies, and I don't need to see Doctor Strange 2 in order to see Spider-Man 3 and so on and so forth. And I feel like that'd be a mistake, and I honestly don't feel like they're gonna do that. But I hope to see Spider-Man to kind of take a more prominent role in the Avengers.
Well, and I'd like to see them all kind of pop up, like in other movies, you know, like I wouldn't mind seeing Black Panther pop up in somebody's, or Captain Marvel in somebody else.
Well, I'm not the biggest fan of Thor Ragnarok. Like, they did have at least the right idea to kind of start to, you know, merge team up people. Civil War had, you know, was supposed to be a solo movie, but it had most of them in it. And then Thor Ragnarok had Doctor Strange. Have Doctor Strange in it, but then it had Hulk.
Or at that one
or
point,
in the middle. So I mean, they started to weave some of these characters in, even if in small scenes, to make it feel a little bit more connected.
Yeah.
I definitely would like to see them
do that more.
move forward.
More. Yeah.
They didn't so much in this one, other than Nick Fury and Hill.
Jonah Hill.
Jonah Hill. It was just an illusion.
Yeah. But yeah, so he did name drop a few, so who knows? I did think it was funny when May called him Mr. Strange, and he was like, "No, it's Doctor Strange."
He didn't go to medical school for that long to be called Mr. Strange.
But anyways, yeah. So overall, I mean, it's definitely.
We're gonna go see it again.
Yeah, we'll see it again. Probably, I don't know when, but sometime. But yeah, so let us know what you guys thought in the comments if you've seen it. If you haven't, go see it.
If you've watched it this long, do you really need to see it? We
I
just
know.
told you the whole movie.
I mean, yeah. Act 1, no. But yeah, so let us know what you guys thought in the comments. Like, subscribe, and thank you for watching.